Welcome to the Living Directors podcast, the Severance episodes. I'm Derek A.
I'm Amy D.
I've worn my grashupen to infiltrate the lower levels today.
Okay. Nice.
How do you pronounce that?
I have no idea.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yes, okay. Yes, the Swedish thing or like the gray cloak or whatever.
What's that like, The Prince and the Pauper? Is that story? It's like where the royalty goes down to mingle with the common folk to learn.
Sure. Yeah. I also remember Michonne doing it in The Walking Dead, where she would like put on she would like carry zombies with her that were basically defanged, so she could walk among the dead.
Never saw The Walking Dead.
It's fine,
but it's funny you mentioned zombies.
Okay.
I'm big into mind-body dualism watching this show.
Yeah.
I've always been a big Rene Descartes fan, as we are. There is a theory here. Should I read it?
Sure.
Let's go. Maybe I didn't have this prepared, so maybe we can move on. Okay, the zombie argument. Look, it gets at the way it's related to Severance is if our body goes into a zombie state, it's still our body, not our mind. Mm-hmm. Which proves essentially that the mind is different from the body. Okay. Mind-body dualism, we are comprised of two distinct things. We're dualistic entities, and they are separate things.
I think we're triune, but go on.
Okay. Oh, sure. I didn't even know where to start with this episode.
Okay, I think we should start with the helly of it all, which is that we know now that she was not severed. They thought it was going to be like too dangerous, or that's what she was kind of pitched. So she was going in there acting as Helly. I think she was on a mission to sleep with Mark S. because of the way that Mark S. is coveted for whatever reason, genetics, whatever. And I think that she really, when she was reviewing with the people, I would like to tell my father about basically my transgressions. And they were like, we're going to spare him from this. And she was kind of pissed. Like, I think she was like rebelling and wanted to get the satisfaction of telling her father that she like rebelled. Okay. And I think that that's an interesting way to sort of frame Helly.
So Helly R is my bitch. I love her so much. She's
now. She's pretty cool.
She's everything for me. I like someone that's, anyone that's kind of a little out of the know, that's seeking the truth. Mm-hmm. Big fan of that. There's like an innocence to her, obviously, that there isn't to Helena. But Helena, where we're exposed to a little more detail about Helena, I think we talked about last episode with the small interaction we saw with her and her dad. What is her actual role? Like, I think I was coming from the point that she has a lot of power. She's a successor. But you mentioned that maybe not. I mean, she's still, I think, a woman in this world, and this whole kind of conservative ethos is coming out more and more. We mentioned like this being like the alternate reality for the Civil War, had the conservatives one, and her role is still kind of second class woman. Did you sense that from Helena?
Well, I'm just like, I understand that anyone who's being ruled or like has their parents sort of, they're under their thumb of their parents, whether it's like nepotism or whatever. It's like they don't really have a lot of latitude to sort of act on their own. And anything that they're doing, unless they make a conscious effort to be like, yeah, fuck that, I'm not doing that, they're going to fall in line. And so there's just not a lot of choice in that situation. And
so she's more just subject to a patriarchal form rather than like a sexist form necessarily.
Yeah, I think she's just she's in a family where it's tradition and carrying on things, and they have expectations. And I think wealthy families like have that. They have like the black sheep kid, and then they've got like everyone else who's like working for the man, Well,
let's think of the women in the outside world. We have Natalie We have Helena.
Mm-hmm.
We have Cobell.
Mark's sister.
Okay. Yeah. She's outside of the Lumen,
you mean
the
like
Lumen
in
world.
the Lumen world?
But no, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. And there's Ragabi.
So Ragabi's. Yeah, so Ragabi has to completely detach from it all to kind of gain her autonomy and power. So it's just, I'm trying to kind of put my thumb on the, like, not just the corporate power structure and like submission from the bottom up, or even at the high levels.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's that soulless, horrible corporate conservative like world is just coming at me hard in this show now, more and more. And obviously I think it's, relaying the real world to this show now too, more and more. It just seems like this is the world that these people really want. Like they just want this. And the women do feel a little lesser than the men in this, to me. I don't know if you
the amount of women in the real world, like we're talking United States, like right now, 2025, that when I post things about like women couldn't have credit cards until the 70s, things like that go, I wish we would go back to those times. I don't want to work, is mind-boggling to me. I'm like, you don't.
Those are generally conservative women, though.
Well, I believe so, but it's like the idea, they love this idea they don't have to work, but I'm like, okay, are you not understanding that it doesn't really matter like what you want? It's a matter of like access for all of humanity, and not working is incredible, and there's like a whole level to that, which is great, but that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about being forced to stay home. Right. Not having a choice to go to work. You want to have the choice to go back home, but like you're still in this world of there's choice, and there's simply not, No,
that's an interesting point. It's not all kind of a male dominated or male driven.
It takes men and women to oppress everybody.
Okay, so Helena's in that meeting. She has to go back in as Heli R. Mm-hmm. For the first time. This is Heli R's first appearance in season 2. Yeah. Isn't that kind of crazy? Mm-hmm. So she's going straight from that, blowing up the speech in the final episode of season 1 to seeing Miss Wang in the elevator. Just all the questions she has. One thing that stood out to me as we kind of follow Heli R, obviously Mark's super... I don't know, pissed, frustrated, confused. He's just like, who's who, what's what. He's hurt, he's in love, I guess now kind of with 2 people. Yeah. But really just Heli R. And Heli R is trying to get questions. What I drew from that is like the hatred between Helena and Heli R. They fucking hate each other. Yeah. And Helena always viewed the innies as animals. She called them their fucking animals in this. So that was always there. But and then I mean, I guess right away too with Heli R trying to kill herself. Like there's that battle from the beginning, and now they're in a love triangle with the same man. Like they hate each other, but they're the same person. Right. Physically. Right. Which is very interesting. It's like, I guess we can think of our own kind of self-loathing in real life in ways that we kind of quote unquote hate ourselves. We all deal with that in our own ways. This is different than that. But it is the same physical body. So I'm stuck on this 2 minds, 1 body thing. It's tripping me out. I still think that there is a current running through Helena that wants to not do this and wants to be in trouble and likes being a troublemaker or a chaos agent. Well, wouldn't she be a little more sympathetic to Heli R, especially being that it's her body? Because she's just so ruthless it's so weird how ruthless they are. Can you think, though, if all of your autonomy was stripped from you and that was the person you're supposed to like, I'm supposed to sympathize with this person who's not thinking, that's not like, I'm just saying it's like, it would be someone who's very smart, independent, and even in their own right, not necessarily within the context of Lumen, and headstrong, and all of a sudden it's like, well, you know what your innie is. It's basically been reduced to a child, and it's like maybe she
she just has no tolerance for the idea of herself without any sort of will.
And now there's a jealousy, and she's battling herself over Mark. Like I said, it's quite the storytelling and quite the dynamic. Lumen. Okay, we can go to. I was thinking. Speaking of Miss Wang, pretty mysterious. One of the most mysterious characters in the show, and a show full of mysterious characters.
Yes.
I guess again, it fulfills this conservative ethos of like kids should be able to work. We don't want labor laws.
Yeah, I saw one of the writers I think Erickson, talking about Miss Wang, and they thought it was very they thought it was telling that the characters are in fact like, while their bodies are, say, like biologically like 45 years old, that their minds are very young, and the idea that this person is actually has more experience, knows more than them, and is 13, like sort of. I mean, there's probably many dimensions to why she's there, but that was the one they sort of chose to focus on.
Yeah, I guess I bring it up to tie it into the real world, and there was a representative who was on CNN talking about school lunches and saying how I worked my way through high school in order to feed myself. Like, these are just these things that are now becoming normalized in our American society, or at least attempted to be.
Yeah, I love when I hear people say things like that, as if like there's not a trajectory of trying to make things better and more accessible for people that come after you. It's very strange, and it's very much indicative of the fact that like perhaps because the boomers are outperforming their kids or whatever, like financially, because of circumstances, right? Like you can't really compare. It's like apples and oranges, but because of that, it's like, oh yeah, well, like that's not how it works. You're not supposed to do better than someone. Like that's there's like it's really fucking dystopian, dude. It's very dystopian. There's this woman that's on TikTok, and she's only on my algorithm because of like the wackest take she has and the people that comment in the comment section. And she'll say things like, when I went to school, like it was boy or girl. And it's like, okay, yeah. So like when I went to school, like the maps were different. You know what I mean? Like things have changed. Yeah. Well, yeah, let's not talk about maps. Right, okay. Oh, right. Of course.
So there's a... Lumen is so compromised now with what the innies now know. It's like...
They got to get that project done, Derek.
They do, but I think it's really, I think, maybe kind of a subtle part of the story that, like, it is really on the brink of pure chaos down there because of what all these people know and now what their motives are. And I'm just what really stood out to me in this episode is like the level of respect that they have for like a mill chick or their superiors now. It's like it is shifting. Like they're straight up saying like fuck you. They're like they're being sarcastic. They're mocking them, and Milchick is still kind of keeping his composure. I mean, he gets face to face with Mark in the elevator at the end, and that's kind of the most aggressive he gets. Yeah. But the Annies are just really ramping up their level of disrespect, which is so different from a season 1, for instance.
Yeah, I think it's now not about what the Annies know or don't know. It's about what the Outies don't know. And so it's like, as long as this project can come to a completion, it's like, and then the Outies aren't disclosing what's going on the inside. I think that's probably the main concern, like the final sort of straw of keeping it under wraps. But no, it's complete chaos under there. There's this whole idea of Helly with the split identities as far as like, I don't know who I'm dealing with and I can't trust you. And then there's the idea of like Mark S saying, hey, you told everyone at Lumen every fucking thing we were doing. So I don't even they know everything we're working on. The only thing that's sort of an undercurrent is Irving leaving that note for Dylan, right? And that was interesting. That was very interesting.
The hang in there cue that he gave him at the end of episode 4. I guess it's just it feels like being an innie, because keep in mind when you're an innie, you're working until death, and that's all of it. There's nothing else when you're an innie,
right?
that in itself is kind of primed for potentials for revolution or going crazy or whatever, and we've already seen allusions to that, right? That makes a lot of sense that would drive one crazy a little bit, that you're just literally stuck at work and then you die and there's nothing outside of it. The fact that they tasted the outside, I mean, to me, you know, it just ramps up this revolutionary possibility and possibility for so much so that it's almost a little still subdued. I feel like, and I've said this before, that there would be more frantic panic happening, especially now. But it's okay that it's not. The show's gotta go on. I could see it going. I mean, I guess maybe what I'm getting at is I think this is going to end very violently, potentially. Although there is a season 3, so not everybody can be killed
but also
off.
like we sort of know that we've been primed to know that because of the revolution from all the pictures. Definitely.
So, you mentioned, or we know how vital Mark is now with this Cold Harbor assignment. Mr. Drummond, I believe his name is, the new kind of board member, I suppose, that we're introduced to this season, who seems to be more powerful than Helena. Even. Yeah. He seems to have a lot of power. I don't know who this guy is. But he mentions to Milchick, when Milchick goes to his performance review, that this Cold Harbor project is like basically going to be like the most important thing ever done in the history of the world. We don't know what that could be.
I find it hard to believe that not every project will be described that way at Lumen. I think this one actually is. One. Yeah, this one is the most important, though. Yeah.
And it just got me thinking, like, you know, what is a harbor? A harbor is basically a safe place for a ship to come into. So this project could be like receiving some sort of wealth or goods in a safe way. I don't know. I mean, the cold part of it, it's always snowing. Is it not? Has it always been cold in the real world?
But I think also, like, if we, was it 5 months later and it's still snowing?
Is that what about the climate aspects of a conservative-led world?
Right.
And, like, are we in this kind of, cold state? I don't know.
Or maybe it's just a sort of like echo the state of the state of the world, the state of the emotional sort of situation.
I wonder if there's some. I wonder if we're in with some climate issues that come up in the real world. Let's see, the jealousy of self. So conservative. Do you? Yeah. So again, I'm sticking on these kind of conservative traits here. The dehumanization of the innies.
Well, okay, I want to talk about that for a minute, because if I think about, it's not necessarily they think of people who work under them in the real world as animals, but they think of them as children, which is why, but really, like, animals and children have a lot in common as far as, like, you have to take care of them and you have to feed them and all that kind of stuff. And I do think that there's something to that, like, and then also they do the goat testing. I think there's like some analogs going on with how you're viewed if you work for the corporation. Like, I'm sure on some level they even would consider like Milchick not an animal maybe, but like he's definitely one of their subjects, you know.
Well, the othering, the lesser than, and it's I mean, it's just it's like it's rampant in America right now, this othering, and it's infuriating, and I don't know why this fits into. The only explanation to me why this would fit into a quote unquote conservative ethos is our feelings of supremacy, and you know that's the 5-alarm fire kind of in a way of what's going on in society now is, you know, that, and it's the ironic feelings of supremacy, obviously. I mean,
right.
It's infuriating. I don't know that I have anything substantial to say about it. It just drives me fucking crazy. It's tied into white supremacy, of course. It's tied into male supremacy. It's tied into American supremacy. Just all these feelings of fucking supremacy.
It's crazy making and gaslighty because the people on the day-to-day that we have contact with that have those sorts of, that espouse those virtues, they are mentally like sort of subsumed by the fascist ideals, right? And they think they're so smart, and they think that all these ideas they're having are so original and that no one's ever had them before. And haven't you thought of it this way, Derek?
Right.
And it's like, yeah.
When ironically, they're the sheeple.
Yeah.
They're the cucks.
Right.
Like, it's all that shit's projection always.
Yeah, yes. And it's like they're the bootlickers, right?
Yes,
like
all that.
they're into it, and they're really into like having a daddy, and that's all fine and good on some level, but it's like but I'm just being like, it's if we sort of discount that, like, it's just super gaslighty though, because it's like, wow, you are in fact the thing that you are calling me, and you will not hear it. And if I try to explain it to you in polite terms, you call me a bunch of really like, awful slurs. And if I try to explain it to you in like simple terms, like using, the N-word, Nazis, right? Like, then they tell you that you're the one being divisive. So it's like they are not, they are programmed. There was a scene in Westworld where it's like, which is a totally different show, but
that's good.
It was one of the characters, and they were like, can't you see, like, he's trying to get out of this situation, and like, because they were all programmed in that show, and he's like, I can't like see it, I can't get out. And it's like there was a door right in front of him that he just couldn't see. And it's like, that's how I sort of feel, is like they're programmed to not see the way out of this situation. And the Nazis, but they can't see it, they don't understand it. Like there's like something that's like being blinded to them. And of course, if any of them are listening, they will think that's us, which is very cute. But it's wild.
And what more could someone like that want than to have people working for them who don't even fucking remember or can't even tap into what it is they're doing when they're in the regular world? So it's complete. I mean, talk about slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not even a conscious element there. That's pure slavery.
Yeah.
In some level, at least from the Audis' perspective.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just the desire to have these things. It's just like, I want people mindless, unknowing, unconscious, essentially, doing the work to enrich me.
Well, if you go back to like the Manhattan Project, which is like one of the greatest conspiracies ever, they just basically kept people sort of like what's the word? Like, they kept people compartmentalized from each other. So it was sort of like a dissemination of information. So it's, in a way, it's happened, because people are like, how could a conspiracy happen? No one can keep a secret. But it's like, well, you don't tell everyone everything. And then like, you kind of just make sure like, oh, this department's over there and that department's over there. And like, make sure they're well fed and spending time with their families and busy. And it's it's happened before. It's on a different level, but like, that's sort of how
secrets, I think, are easier to keep than people realize.
Oh,
Most people are not. Most people, they're just concerned about their home, their family, their life, and they're even now they're not thinking much about.
And you just tell them, hey, you're getting the bad numbers. That's all you're doing, and they're like, oh, okay, it's an important job. And then it's like, I don't need to talk to you. And if I say that to you, it sounds crazy. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Have a good time at work, man. I'll see you on next Saturday.
Right. The Dark Hall. This is how the episode ends. Of course, Dylan receives the instructions, the directions down this dark hall. Mark's reintegration. I forgot if we even mentioned that. Yeah, that's kind of a big part of what's going on right now.
He's remembering his wife so much more.
And he enters that dark hall as his Audi, going through this kind of glitchy reintegration process that he's going through right now. And then we're going to talk about Irving in a second. It appears as if Irving's Audi has gone through, or he must have gone through this dark hall. He's painting it constantly.
Yeah,
right.
I feel like he's gone through it many times.
And but does that mean that Irving's Audi has entered in the Lumen world, the severed world? I think so. I think he knows it.
Right, or
because that's what you're exposed to down this dark hall. You get, it's the Audi entering the any world,
or
no?
it's leaving the Audi world. I think with Irving, okay, so we know he's an artist. And we know artists are typically more sensitive, and perhaps when this occurred, like something left a marker on his like subconscious or something.
Yeah. So we have Burving, the Burving alert. We love Burving.
We do. Burton Irving.
In episode 4, we saw that he was stalking him a little bit. Irving's on this payphone. We don't know who he's talking to.
No.
That's really interesting. He's kind of revealing. Audi Irving knows a lot.
And he knows to be paranoid about Lumen.
But he didn't know Bert, because that was the first time he didn't know who he was. So they had just met each other. Their chemistry is awesome. Love when they're on screen together.
Me too.
And he they're both, just those actors are just like, American treasures.
My friend said his favorite part of season 1 was watching them fall in love. Like that was his,
they're the best. So Christopher Walken and John Turturro are actually really, really close in real life.
Oh.
I mean, they're two classic American actors. They've been doing this for decades and decades.
Yes.
And they have a very close, loving relationship in real life.
Yeah.
Turturro was cast first because Turturro has a relationship with Stiller.
Okay.
And then Turturro was like, we got to get Walken to come on and do this role because of our relationship and then how it's so close.
I'm sorry, side note, did you see that Turturro has been like walking in Fashion Week?
No.
Yeah.
Love that. Perfect.
Yeah. It's been very cool.
Turturro, dude, he's
chic.
I feel like, who's the guy? Who's the tall, lanky guy from Independence Day? That I can't remember his name. Eccentric.
I've literally never seen Independence Day.
The tall. Why can't I remember his name? He does Fashion Weeks and stuff too. Oh well, I'll come back to it. Anyways, Turturro's like a better him. God damn it, why can't I remember his name? Okay. So we have Burving. Bert invites Irving to his home. Bert's husband, already a little jelly, because Annie Irving came to his door and freaked out.
Yeah.
Interesting move to invite him over for dinner. Have you ever been in a situation like that? That is volatile. We know it's going to happen. That's like, hey, honey, here's the person that I'm about to cheat on you with. Let's invite him over for dinner.
Or it's like, because they both have like half memories of things, right? They don't really, it's like inviting we saw what it was like to have the wife come into the any world, right? With Dylan and his wife.
Oh, right.
And now we're going to see what it's like for a husband
to
be, for sure, husband to be in the Audi world. And I think that it's like, first of all, you kind of want to see what is going on because you know that like they don't know each other really, but also I think there might be an openness to like you guys can sort of like put a puzzle together because I'm sure it's like they won't tell me anything is what he says. All I know is I was let go and I don't understand why because I had some sort of relationship that I wasn't supposed to have. And so I think I think if anything it's like for the sanity of Walken. But no, you're right. I mean, like under any normal circumstances, that is a recipe for disaster.
I mean, no, there's tons of motive for them to meet.
But
it's
what
just
will
like
happen?
We can see what's like underneath the surface. I was just trying to think of like, I feel like we've all been in real life situations like that where we're like, whatever side of it we're on, where it's like, what do they say? What's the meme? Like, it's the guy your girlfriend's telling you not to worry about. Or
right.
Like, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So we know how fucking like traumatic that can be if you're on the wrong side of it. Just watching it unfold before your eyes
are pretty predictable.
Speaking of Irving on the inside, Irving, we have his bereavement ceremony detail.
Yeah.
A eulogy is given. We have the watermelon head. We have Mark, disassociating as best as he can from it all.
He's giving the cold shoulder to Helly as well as much as he can. I mean, for obvious reason. But
and that's part because he doesn't know which Helly it is, and it's part because he's been betrayed. Turned in love.
Yeah. And also because really Lumen has fucked with every one of his like significant relationships that we know about in such a major heavy way. It's like they are using him as like a personal experiment.
And yeah, his dude, I'll say this every episode, he would be so much more apoplectic. Like, he's now just out in the real world like, oh, I know my wife's alive now. Dum-da-dum.
Yeah.
Like, no! You're in full fucking pain. Like, I'm just trying to think of like how I feel right now with what's going on in America. This has nothing to do with like losing a wife. I don't know. There's like, it's like he wouldn't just be waking up and going to work again,
right?
Like with the company that did this to him,
right? He'd be
that's
like
a whole
joining,
story, a little bit.
Either that or like there is like a very heavy metaphor that all this stuff is sort of like, you know, like it's not real. It's his wife, but like what is it? You know, yeah, I agree though. I think that is definitely underplayed. I think it's interesting. So I figured out, this is totally aside, but why his face looks different. And it's because he has like a wig that he's wearing that's very Tom Cruise adjacent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when I see him in normal like interviews, he looks regular. And so there's just like they're doing something, to him. Sorry, that it was like driving me crazy why he looks so different. Go ahead.
I brought that up because I think Mark R is really just he's overwhelmed. He's like, I can't deal with any of this. You know, he's in huge disassociative mode.
Yeah.
You know, he does snap back with the bullshit Gazette comment to Milchick, which is nice. You know, seeing some sarcasm and kind of pushback from any Mark is nice. But I also do think though that him knowing that his Audi's wife, or Audi thinks his wife is dead, and he knows, like, any Mark would be reacting heavier to that as well. And he kind of passes it off, like when it's mentioned up, like, yeah, okay, like, yeah.
Or it's like he was not interested in reintegrating, and like now he's doing this like incredibly invasive, scary, experimental thing that she's only done like twice, I guess, is what we're to assume. And it's like maybe it's just like he's sort of the strong silent type, where it's like, I can't tell anyone about this. No one's safe. I will take this into my own hands in the way that I can, which is like, or I'll tell my sister, like, yeah, I'm trying to like, you know, burn impressions into my after images, but like, he's going through the heaviest shit I can imagine. Right. Sometimes really, when I go through the heaviest shit though, that's when I get the most like,
that's true.
You know, like internal.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. We have Rickon. Our favorite character, Rickon.
Oh, yeah. This was no. I love Rickon. Not because I think he's a great guy, but because he's a great character. Yeah. The way that she's basically like, you're gonna be a propagandist, and he's like, yeah, but I'm gonna make tons of money, and like, you're not seeing it for what it. I was like, damn, they know how to appeal to every sense of your ego that you need to sort of have satisfied. Which yes,
again, completely captures real life. I just love hopefully we can beget a revolution at some point here. That's what Rickon's trying to do. That's what he thinks he's doing. The pretentiousness, he's
lying to himself.
For profit. Such a regular, normal, real life thing, though. At least in the conservative world, this is kind of what they want. Like, just capitulate for profit. To benefit the higher ups. There's a little something in it for you here. Work for me, baby.
It's also like his whole premise of his book is like self-empowerment or like whatever. And, you know, it's not really too hard of a leap to imagine that they would be like, yeah, we'll give you some money and like you're going to be really empowered. And he's like, he's the right guy to sort of hit with that message. And so he's like, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about how they're mechanical and they love the clock, and we want to like go ahead and there's a bunch of stuff where I'm like, Rickon's true character is like coming out right now. He's there, and it's sort of it makes fun of sort of how easy it is for someone to sell out.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, it's just commonly known as selling out.
Not anymore. You know, selling out is a concept that really went away with like Generation X and then like millennials kind of, but like for the most part, since like the early 2000s, people are very interested. They don't even know what selling out is. They call it a brand deal. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like there might be a comeback here.
Oh,
for this.
Sure, yeah.
And I think maybe, you know, selling out is related to the corporation. When we have selling out related to a government, that takes on a whole nother level. I do, yeah, man. I just see that 60s rebellion coming back a little bit here in America.
But they were so easily pacified with the promise of BMWs and like homes, which is great. Like I love a BMW, I love a home, but like that 60s where they figured out like how to get rid of that. And I don't disagree with you. I'm excited for the art that's coming out right now. I'm excited for a lot of the counterculture. There's so many things that I'm like really like it's been happening. Like you said, the halftime show.
Shout out Kendrick.
Yeah, there's tons of stuff going on right now that is like very subversive, that is sort of man, okay, we can cut this out, but like the amount of people I saw talking about like there was no inclusion, like the amount of from the right.
But that's the point of it.
Yeah, well, right.
It's to show the hypocrisy of DEI.
Yes, that's what it was like. It was just wild how many people felt emboldened to say ignorant. That's what I think is the most wild thing. It's the gaslighty stuff. It's like you're so bold with your terrible take and you're easily like shut down opinion that it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that you're on like an international platform saying these things and thinking that like you're owning me.
Yeah. Well, Kendrick
killed.
I've been very close as a fan to Kendrick for over a decade now. I got to see him live in 2012 when Good Kid, Mad City came out at Santa Barbara. When I was going to Santa Barbara, he came to our school and did a show. I get chills just thinking about that. But He came through the kind of the Dr. Dre tree, which I was obsessed with since I was 12 years old. Anyways, there's a lot of us who have known Kendrick's genius for a long time.
Sure.
It progresses with every album. It's really nice to finally be put on a global stage. He's been very well known by all means, but this halftime show, considering the timing of it, people are able to see that he is the Dylan of our time. You know, shout out to Chalamet in the movie. Chalamet and Kendrick did an interview too, by the way. He is the Shakespeare of our time, arguably, and the argument there is that, you know, to be Shakespeare, you have to combine, you know, a mastery of meter and rhythm with the messaging, with a kind of popularity, right? And your modern poet can't really capture that. It kind of has to be a rapper in a sense.
Yeah, it has to be someone who's like in the preferred method of the zeitgeist at the time. Yeah,
and he is speaking a language, quote unquote, that is hard for some to decipher initially, like a Shakespeare,
right?
All of that. I mean, the layers in that show. It's okay to talk about the show in relation to Severance. I think the halftime show.
Which I didn't see, by the way. I've seen all the, which I wish I would have, simply because like I heard SZA also was like incredible, and I'm a huge SZA fan. But I almost like didn't have to. I mean, I would be enriched by seeing it, surely. But yeah, just watching this sort of rhetoric take place, and the amount of people that like were doing like occult breakdowns, which I was like, it was pretty like in your face. Like, how occult do you need to get? Like,
and let's talk about blackness, because we have.
Oh, I'm the authority on talking about blackness.
No, but it's important for it's so important. I started a show talking black art with my friend Corey. Like the allies that are necessary in today's age. I think that being an ally as a white man or woman now to black and brown people is kind of our path forward in terms of our the way to combat what's going on.
Authentically and genuinely appreciating other people, no matter their background or whatever the case may be, is always the path forward. It's the human experience. It's really too bad that that's like even a notion that is like revolutionary. Right.
So for two white people to talk about this, I think is really important moving forward.
Okay.
Very important. But I bring this up because we have the Natalie and Seth conversation in Severance. So blackness in Severance is definitely an important theme. We're coming off of, you know, Milchick's portraits that he received last episode. And then there's that conversation that Milchick has with, or tries to have with Natalie before he goes into his performance review. She's still stone cold, you know, nothing.
Well, that was part of his performance review, is how he received that artwork.
Right.
Which is like, what?
Yeah, well, in the paper clips.
Right. Well, right. But I mean, like, they were like, you received it with graciousness or something like that,
right.
is what they say. So that conversation, obviously, Natalie hadn't had time to, like, whatever, report on him or whatever. But I
mean, we had a moment of a black man and a black woman kind of talking outside of
no,
the
absolutely.
white people.
I just thought it was so fascinating that had his response been anything different, like
right.
that would have been an issue.
Right.
Right. Like, that's a problem. If he would have been like, well, this is kind of weird, or I don't really relate to this.
Well, and Samuel Jackson playing Uncle Sam / Uncle Tom in the halftime show the whole thing's about capitulating to the game and playing the game.
Right.
What is this Severance? What is Lumen if not playing the game? Like,
right.
To the most extreme degree.
I mean, it's obviously an eyeball, but also it looks like a football. Like the Lumen.
I thought it was like a water drop or an oil drop. Or something.
I don't know. You know what? I think that's a Rorschach, actually. Okay. Yeah.
But seeing Seth is arguably the most interesting, complex character in the whole show.
Yeah. Agree.
And seeing him kind of become a little vulnerable and trying to talk to Natalie on an aside, away from the Lumen powers that be, on a one-to-one. He doesn't receive anything from her, and he knows not to push it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a neat humanization of him as a black man in this world, which I think we're going to see more and more of that. I mean, him being black is intentional and important, mm-hmm. and fits into what this world is. It's a big part of this world, just like it is in America. And playing the game, playing by the rules, and it's that's the tie between Kendrick's halftime show and this show. Is it's like really it's the oppressed trying to break out of being trapped in this game and being forced to play by the rules, and what happens when we break out of it.
Yeah, I think Seth is interesting because he's integrated. He's integrated. So he is a full human being, and I think he's sort of taking cues, not taking cues, but I think that the idea that he would sort of pull Natalie aside and have this like kind of risque conversation, human moment, is sort of inspired by the fact that he's just been around so many people having all these human moments on his outing.
I think he's, I can see a trajectory in the show where he breaks out, and kind of his arc is to shut the whole fucking thing down somehow,
I would love it.
To take it all down himself.
Yeah.
That's my prediction for wherever this show ends, whether it's season 3 or beyond.
Yeah. Also, we never really shouted this out in the last podcast where he was wearing the white ensemble, but like I noticed a lot of people, as the kids say, he ate. He left no crumbs. That,
good point. I'm so high strung talking about this show. It's nice to kind of tone it down a notch.
Yeah. He looked incredible.
Where do we want to go from there? We have. Did you see that there was a shout out to there was a Montauk file in episode 4?
Yeah, I did see that.
We didn't mention that.
I didn't notice it until after we talked, but yeah, Montauk was like a place that's kind of where we got our name from as well, right. Simply because of like the experiments that were done there.
Well, you're referring to the account,
Montauk effect, my account, yeah, and yeah, I think it was a big time travel experiments, but I personally think it's like, I think it had a lot to do with like torture, because I think a lot of times like the time traveling of everything, it's like induced by severe experiences or whatever. And so I think there was something to do with that. And I think PTSD is like one of our most like rudimentary forms of time travel, if you will, because it like makes you, I don't know if you've ever, maybe after you're, like you experienced the loss of a loved one or whatever, but like, I remember, just for an example of kind of like, I don't know, like a one I can share is like, I was like making food, and then it was like, whoa, transported back into the hospital with my dad. Sure. And it's like, oh, like I'm there, what I mean? And then it's like, oh shit, I'm like making, beans or whatever I'm doing.
Well, I mean, that's what's happening with the severed mind, that they can hop back and forth to different realities. We mentioned cloning as one of the potential kind of goals of Lumen. Maybe time travel is.
Right.
Maybe they're trying to go back and reverse something.
Mm-hmm.
This is fun.
Yeah.
God, there's still so many unanswered questions. How do you feel about the pacing of the show? Is enough being revealed episode to episode for you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You don't kind of want more to be happening each
episode?
No,
because I feel like it's more of like a dirge, I think is what they would call it, where it's like slow and like steady, and we're able to really like sink our teeth into the things that are happening. Like if we had a million things happening, the moment between Natalie and Seth might have just been overlooked. Like, oh yeah, they just had like kind of a conversation. Yeah. And that's kind of weird. But it's like, that was a really meaningful moment, and the fact that his review was going to be 8 hours long was a meaningful moment. And I mean, there was like fun. It's layered. That's why the show is so incredible, because there's like, it's funny. And then also it's like there's depth to it and there's meat to it. And so you can really get into it in a way that had we been moving a lot faster, they wouldn't be as meaningful. I just think I understand the pacing of it might be a little slow because the first season was so whatever, but the first season was a lot of, it was even more of a mystery because you knew even less. And so now it's like, we know a little more. We're able to put some pieces together. It's literally giving us that time to sort of connect the dots.
Yeah, I guess if I feel a show's moving slow, it's just because you like it so much and you want to. There's such an urgency to find out the reality behind it. We can wind down a little bit. We're at 55.
Let's talk about two people, one body. That's duality. And there's like the triune aspect, which is mind, body, spirit.
Right.
And I think that what we're learning with Helly and Helena is that they have the same spirit. Like, which is
right. Well, that gets to what knowledge do the innies have to start with? I guess if you just say
so you can separate the mind and body, but I'm not sure you can sever the spirit.
That's like the Holy Trinity, right?
Right. Triune.
Oh, is that the? Yeah. I've never heard triune.
Yeah, and so I think it's like the spirit remains no matter what the mind is up to.
I like that. Miss Huang. I guess maybe let's talk about the funeral, quote unquote, a little bit more.
Sure.
One, we're all pretty certain that Irving's going to come back. I mean, I want to say that there's some foreshadowing to certain scenes that are going to happen in this season that include Irving and like Helly, for instance. I don't think that he's gone. Well, we know Irving Audie's still going to be in the show. I feel like Innie's still going to come back.
I'm telling you, I think Irving has been in and out of this building just 1,000 times, and that's why it's just like so imprinted, the harbor, the port, or whatever, the shipping port.
So then maybe the significance of especially Dylan being so insistent that there's a funeral for him. It's like, oh, sweetheart, Dylan, like this has happened many times. Like this is a huge deal for you, but this is normal.
I think it was also really telling that Mark S was like, he's not dead. Like he's dead to us in some sort of way. He doesn't work here, but he's not dead. Like we know he's not dead. They just like retired his character from this building, which
shows how different the season 2 characters are. Like you could not have said that in season 1.
No, right. No.
I one thing that really stuck out to me that is I don't know what to make of is the way Miss Huang speaks to Milchick when they're like prepping for the funeral.
Oh yeah,
she's really like, can I ask you a question? Right, and then just makes a statement instead. And Milchick just kind of takes it. Like Milchick is supposed to be her boss, but Miss Huang seems to have like the ultimate power in this place, or authority in a sense. At least the way she just like emotionally, her aura.
Okay, I think that Milchick has a really ice cold way of sort of delivering his lines, which make it seem like he's like cool, but really I think like there's rage.
You're right.
The way he said and confronted Marquez at the end with like, you're fucking Helly, and like the way that he goes, that's not a question, that's an opinion, and the answer is no. I thought like that is a read. Like that is what the kids call a read.
It's
and
a good
it was
point.
Great. And it's like he just chooses not to like, he knows how to play the game.
Right.
If he were to get really angry and mad and like out of pocket, like then there goes his review. It's another like 12 hours.
Which, by the way, is specifically tied into blackness in America.
Yes.
You can't step outside of that. Whereas Cobell, who we haven't seen for 2 whole episodes now, she wasn't so restrained.
No.
Right?
No.
Because she's a white woman.
Yes.
She can
the
she
most
can behave
powerful
differently.
being in American culture, a white woman. Yes.
Yeah, man, I love Milchick's character.
Yeah, and I say that sort of ironically, but there is like
Right.
a lot that white women can get away with if, and behaviorally, like obviously they can always be like raped or killed. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that could be anyone, but it's like for the most part, people are just really sympathetic to white women, and it's almost like maddening.
Did you see that bit I posted about the raper?
No.
There's this comedian. She's like, I think that we should change the phrase rapist.
Yeah, I've seen that
to
though.
raper
Yeah, because that's
to
what
make
it
it
is.
sound more like murderer instead of artist or florist.
Absolutely. No, she's got a point. Absolutely.
Do we want to? We do zero prep on the show, if you can't tell.
We watch the show.
We watch it. We got some notes. There's no template. I should maybe get on that. Can we end this with like, I don't know if we want to go where do we think next episode's going, or like just something light, something fun. What was like the fun moment?
You don't want to leave it on raper. You don't want to just go ahead and go from there. No, what was fun? I think
the watermelon head.
Yeah, the watermelon head was great.
Though.
I thought for sure no one would eat it, or they would just eat like the side parts, and then Dylan's just like munching on the ear. I thought that was incredible. And they have this thing with fruit. They love to do like a healthy. It's very like it's fascist, right? Where it's like they're one of like the worst organizations in the entire world, but they're like, we're gonna let you guys have raisins today. You know, like here's a real treat. Like here's a melon, and it's like, okay, yeah, but like you should let them smoke. You know what I mean? Like you should let them do things that are like. I mean, obviously, I understand why that wouldn't work, but the way that they present things to you, it's like not even a cookie. It's like some organic like bullshit, and it just seems like your concern. It's such a surface level concern for my well-being and my health.
What did like Milchick says they got the watermelons like imported from some other country? It has
the black hair,
rind.
yes. That was the details were immaculate on this episode. I think Milchick is probably my favorite character.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with Heliar. I'm like I'm crushing. I'm in love with her basically.
Yeah,
more so than maybe any TV character ever. I love her. I want to be with her.
You'll never know which one she is. You know, she's in a circus. She was doing a documentary. She's like a director as well. Yeah, about the circus like performers, and she joined one. Like
the actress in real life?
Yes, the actress in real life.
I don't know her name.
I can't think of it, but she's fascinating. If you check out her interviews, she's like a true artist.
Love it. Well,
I know.
I don't want to fall more in love.